Good afternoon, everybody. The video I'm going to do today is just going to be a topic of what's going on to the world, and there's so much happening, to say the least. There's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of racial slurs being thrown everywhere and in every different direction. Freedom of speech is being attacked by many different directions. It's like people are becoming unwound and very frustrated in many different aspects of life. It is a very difficult time. And when I made the drum, it's supposed to be about bringing races together, and I don't see that happening. It seems to me that people are still hung up on the word race. And there is racism in the world. That is true. But it's on every culture. It's not just one. And I think that's the problem, is that there is a problem. There is a definite problem in the world that needs to be corrected. And I think taking the word race, taking the word color, religion out of conversations, out of the idea that we're different, is one of the biggest problems, because and there's so many people can't even talk about this subject because they get attacked by every tiny little thing they say. And it's like people are so paranoid to say one tiny little thing wrong. But what was that really meant to be? Was it just this something that was just missaid, or was it actually an attack? Was it something that was said in anger, or one time only? Was a person? You could go on and on and on to all the reasons why. But I think one of the biggest problems is that people look at people differently because of the color they are, because of the race they are, of the religion, of the culture, the way they look like. Long hair, short hair. That's a big thing as well. I've been many times in my life, I've been called many things because I have long hair. And there's a problem. When people see somebody that is different, they attack them in some form or another. That's the issue. The issue is so big because it isn't just simply about one individual. It's about how you treat and how we're treating each other. When we look in the mirror, what do we see? We should just see a person. It doesn't matter what color you are. It's your actions that make you who you are. Your actions. So if you want to put forward a movement, your actions define you in that movement. So if your actions are chaotic, then you're working with chaos. If your actions are loving, you're working with love. But what happens when a movement starts off as something as beautiful, then turns into something that's not? That's where the problem runs into, is like it loses its meaning. There is a definite problem in the world. Because I think people put up borders. They define people for where they're from, but not their actions. Because realistically, how are we ever supposed to talk to alien beings? What happens if an alien being comes down and it is completely different? How are we ever going to accept that alien being if we can't even accept each other's colors? Each other's way of thinking. Long hair, short hair. Gay or straight. I could go on forever. We can't even get past the minor details. So how would we ever get past the major ones? So as an individual, I'm saying let's remove these things from our way of thinking. But don't attack people viciously for minor mistakes. Don't have an amazing movement and turn it into something chaotic, because it loses its meaning. Every person struggles on this world. Some people struggle much more than others. Some races struggle more than others. The only way that we're really ever going to get past all this is to look at everybody as an equal. But it also depends on your actions. If you're going around creating chaos, it's the wrong direction. It's the wrong way of doing it. And it's not just one person, though, because you could have a movement and half the people are perfectly in line with love, and the other half are perfectly in line with chaos. But which one are you going to remember? You could have 1,000 people, and 10 of those people burn cars down, burn houses down, burn buildings, get in fights, beat people up. Which one of all those 1,000 people do you think are going to stand out? And what do you think your movement's going to look like because of those 10 people? And I could get a lot of people just yelling and screaming at me saying, no, but this is the way it has to be. But it doesn't need to be that way. But it's the problem is that people aren't listening. I think the reality is that people are so frustrated that they feel like that's the only way people will listen. But we fall into that same thing over and over again. We'll use an analogy of a bear. The bear's sitting there eating berries. We walk up with a big stiff stick and we poke and we poke and we poke that bear. That bear blows up and attacks that person, and then that bear gets shot because it went out of line. What would have happened if we didn't touch the bear and allow the bear just to be happy for the way it is? Nothing would have happened. The bear would have lived a perfectly happy life eating its berries. The issue is so much bigger than this, and I know that. It's more complicated. But stop looking at everybody as a color, a race. Stop looking at people because they're different. Look at a person of how they act, because the action defines who you are. The spiritual side of yourself and the physical side. Because it is both that define you. It's your actions that define you as an individual, as a group. This is a time of unprecedented change. So do we want to move forward with chaos or with love? Who do you think? What do you think the world is using now? What do you think you're feeding with the chaos? Do you think all the chaos in the world just stays and just goes poof and disappears? Or are you creating a new reality from all the chaos? The chaos and fear in the world has created a really dangerous situation. A situation where there's a massive entity feeding off of all this energy. But maybe that being is there feeding off it to try to rebalance the world. And maybe that's why it has been set free, to rebalance the world. But the way I look at life and the way I see the human race, I see them making the same mistake over and over and over again. I see diversity as beautiful, as unique. I see culture as beautiful and unique. I try not to look at color at all, but it's hard not to. But you just don't, because it's ingrained into us. When you meet somebody, one of the first questions you ask sometimes is, where are you from? Why do we do that? Because for thousands of years, it was something. I think that's part of this change, is to greet people as equals, no matter who and what they are. Their actions will define who they are really quickly, and you can choose whether or not you want to be around that person or not. When you do a demonstration and somebody gets out of hand, why would you let them do that as a group? Because that man is defining who you are. If you're not working with chaos, then you need to somehow stop that person from reacting that way before it gets out of hand. Because that one person can create a chain reaction. And one simple way is to walk away from him. Leave him be. If he's doing something that goes against what you want to portray to the world, then walk away from that person. Admit it if you make a mistake. You don't have to beg for forgiveness because you made an error in judgment. You can simply state why you made that, why you did that. And if it's a legitimate reason and the person's a good person, get over yourselves. Let the person be. Nobody's perfect. There's always times where people will say something in anger, say something by mistake, say something because they're not quite straight. So don't attack good people for making minor mistakes. You shouldn't even be attacking anyone. What we should be doing is looking at the problems and correcting them. And I know that it doesn't happen like that. And that's the problem. Because when we bring forward an issue, it gets ignored. And then that builds up and builds up and builds up and people explode. But does it really change things? We have to find different ways to create change. And we do that by coming together as one race. Eliminate the titles. We're just one human race. We're all human beings. Even if we're not, we should invite people that portray values and love within our own family. And the people that do not hold our values, we walk away from them. We separate ourselves from them. And in some cases, we have to lock that person away because it's unacceptable. However, if you take that person that makes a mistake and talk to them, ask them why they're doing that. Why is it that they're acting this way? And try to help them. But they also have to want to help themselves. And if they go through things over and over not helping themselves, that's when it becomes their issue. It's a complicated thing. But when I look at people getting so angry because somebody said one word, it's not that they said one word. It's because their whole lives have been full of disappointment. I know it's way more complicated than what I'm saying. But your actions define who you are. As a human race, our actions define us who we are. and how the universe will look at us and does look at us, how the spiritual realm looks at us. So let's throw away this stupid, I get so frustrated from hearing derogatory statements. If you don't like a word, don't use it. Because it just holds on to the word to be used by somebody else. If a word is derogatory and degrading, stop using it. Because even the way you're using it, and I understand why you're using it, but that holds on to the energy of the word. But maybe you're trying to use it in a way that it changes the energy, and I could be wrong. Maybe that will work. It's not words that hurt people. It's our actions and the meaning behind why we say them. You could say the same word 3 times. And every single time you say the word, it could be totally different meaning. And that's what is important. Why it was said and what it was said for. And people will make mistakes. I will make mistakes. You will make mistakes. But it's how we respond to those things that make us who we are. I want to see a world of peace where people get along, treat each other like equals, and work together in harmony to create a beautiful place to live. And it's like a pipe dream. It's like it's like John Lennon said a lot of really cool things. Had a lot of really good ideas, and I know they also came from his wife as well, probably most of them. And he was basically killed for those ideas and those beliefs. And so have many people, and so have I. You have as well, probably, over the years. By standing up for what you believe in, you were killed for it because it didn't agree with the masses. But all along, it was because people didn't have an open mind to people that were different. And they let people that make decisions run their lives. I don't have all the answers for these things. Not one person does, but as a group of people that want to change the world, that truly want to change, we need to stop using chaos, because all that does is create more chaos. And if you think it doesn't, just look at our own history. There has to be better ways to deal with everything. There is better ways to deal with everything. We can use to work with nature, or we can destroy it. We can choose to work together for everybody on earth as equals, or we do not. We could take our borders down and work together as one family, or not. But if I say, let's take away all the borders and work together, how many people are going to be okay with that? See, that there is the problem. Right there. Because I know a lot of people are saying, oh my God, that's a bad idea. If we took away the leaders, what would happen to the world? There's a lot of movies saying that would kill each other. Well, you know what? A lot of times there's peaceful protests, and then a few people will destroy that protest. But why do we have to allow them to do that? Why do we have to associate ourselves to that? We separate ourselves from those individuals, and those individuals will be dealt with. You can look at the police force. I know a lot of good police officers. A lot of them. There's also a few bad seeds out there. and the certain states and the certain countries that the police officers aren't so good. So how do you fix that problem? You reform it. You don't dismantle it, you reform it. You make changes based on what makes sense. But that, again, is hard because the people that are making the decisions do not care about you or me. That, again, is the problem. As a human race, we have to come together, and a majority does rule. I hate to say it, it does. The majority of people are going to win out. So, if the majority of people want to kill people, then that's what it's going to look like. If the majority of people don't want to kill people, then the world will switch and change into something more peaceful. So as a group of people that want to change, or want a world that John Lennon sang about, and many other people as well, and the masses don't want that, then that's not going to happen. And that is frustrating for people that see the potential in the human race, to see the potential in everyone, including myself. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. If you wish to do a journey with me, you can visit my website at amonrosawakening.com, or you can visit my Northern Light pages, Hidden Aurora Spirits, which is more like a mirrored, it's like a lot of it is basically mirrored image of my Northern Lights to bring out the spirits within them. Or you can visit my Northern Lights page at Amon Ross. Well, I should say JosephBradleyAuroras.com. Again, we all make mistakes. Have a great evening.